Hey everyone, this is Finn, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create your own title screen using scene management. Go ahead and create a new project. Make sure that this 3D is selected in the templates, and then I'm going to rename my new Unity project Title Screen Testing and press Create. Now that we have Unity open, I'm going to go ahead and double click to open my scenes folder over here in my project window. I'm going to click and then click again, and after a moment this is going to highlight this sample scene text. It'll highlight and let me rename my scene. I am going to rename it Title Screen. It's going to ask me if I want to reload the scene because I am changing something essential to the scene. I will say reload. And this is going to be my title screen. Let's right click, go down to UI, and add a canvas. This white boundary represents your screen, the screen of your main camera, the screen that we see down here in our game view. I am going to rotate this way. Now that we have a canvas, I'm going to right click on that canvas, go down to UI, and then add text. And as you can see, that text pops up here. I am going to rename this text game object title, and then I'm going to change the text to title of my game. Then I'm going to want to change my font style from normal to bold and italic. We want this title to be bigger, so I am going to change the font size to 30. But as I do that, you can see that it completely disappears. That's because our box for the text field is actually too small for our text now. Go over to our rect transform component, and let's take this width and scroll to the right and click on where it says height and scroll to the right, and then you will see it pop up. That's big enough for me. I am going to press a couple more settings over here in my text component. I'm going to change the alignment of my paragraph to center and center. These two center buttons here in the middle of these sets of three. I am going to click best fit, and that's going to make it a little bit larger because it's just going to make sure that it is as big as it possibly can be with the size of my rect transform. Now let's scroll this title up. Now that we have a title, we need a button to start the game. I'm going to right click on canvas, press UI, and then click button. That adds a button there. We are going to change the name of that button to start button. Then we are going to open up the game object by pressing this little triangle here. Click on our text game object. Go over to the text component and change the text from button to start. I'm going to put it in all caps, but you can do whatever you want. Now we have our title screen set up in a very rough way. The bare minimum of what we would need for a title screen. A button to start the game and a title. Now we are going to create another scene to represent the actual game. Let's double click on the scenes folder to open it. Right click on this space next to the other scenes inside of the project folder, and then press create and scene. Let's type main game just so we know what that scene's supposed to represent. I'm going to double click it. I'm going to make sure that I press save so that the previous scene is saved before I leave, so I don't lose any changes. Then I'm going to right click here, add a 3D object. I'm just going to add a little bit of a scenery so that we can tell when something has changed, when we have changed to a different scene. I'm going to make sure my transform position is 0, 0, 0. I'm actually then going to change my Y transform position axis to -1. And then we are going to scale our floor by the X and Z axis by 10. I'm actually going to adjust the height just a little bit more by lowering it to -2 on the Y-axis for position. Then I'm going to appropriately name this game object floor. I'm going to right-click on my hierarchy and create a 3D object. You do not have to do this, but I am going to create a fun little snowman just for fun. I'm going to make this sphere scaled by 1.5. 1.5 on the y-axis, 1.5 on the z-axis. I'm going to name this lower body. I'm going to be quick about this part because that's not part of this tutorial. But just to represent a different scene, I'm going to click on this lower body game object and press Ctrl D to duplicate it. I'm going to click on that game object again and rename it middle body. Press enter. Then I'm going to use this green arrow with the move tool to drag that up. Then we are going to scale it down back to 1 by each of the coordinates for scale. Let's drag it down a little bit back into place. I'm going to repeat the same process for the head by pressing Ctrl D while having the middle body selected. Then I'm going to rename that head. And I'm going to change its scale from the x-axis to 0.5, y-axis 0.5, z-axis 0.5. And then I'm going to raise the head onto the body. And then I'm going to zoom in, make sure my head is selected, press Ctrl D, and then scale it all the way down to 0.15. 0.15 for the y-axis as well, 0.15 for the z-axis scale. And we're going to use those as silly little eyes for now. Of course, I'm going to press Ctrl D and make another eye there. And then name these both eye. And that's just going to represent our main game. That has nothing to do with the title screen. But that's how you build a little snowman in Unity using only primitive objects. Now we are going to make sure that both of our scenes are included in our build settings. To check our build settings, go up to File, click Build Settings, and then open that. Then you are going to want to make sure you press Add Open Scenes. See how it added the main game. Now we are going to want to make sure that our title screen is open. Yes, please save Unity. Go back to our build settings by pressing File, Build Settings, and then Add Open Scenes. Then I'm going to make sure that this title screen is the first scene in our Scenes in Build list. Let's close the build settings. Now I'm going to show you how to create a title screen script. Click on your main camera. In the inspector, press Add Component and type Title Screen Script. Press Create and Add. And it'll automatically attach that script to your main camera. I'm going to press these 3 dots at the very top corner of that title screen script component. I'm going to go down to Edit Script. And now Visual Studio 2017 is going to open up. I'm not going to go over the parts of the script as much as I did in the Hello World tutorial for day 2. So please, if you don't remember, go back to that tutorial to refer before you continue. But for those of you who are familiar with the different sections of the script, let's continue. Up at this very top, where we add different namespaces that this script is going to be referencing, let's press Enter to add a new line under Using Unity Engine. And I'm going to have you type Using Unity, let me get that out of the way, Using Unity Engine dot Scene Management. Make sure you have a semicolon at the end of that. And that is the namespace that we are going to be using to manage our scenes, to switch from our title screen to our main game scene. Now, let's create a new function. We're actually not going to need the start and update function for this script at all. So in fact, I think I am going to delete it. This is safe to do. If you wanted to, you could just add them again by typing void start, and that's going to add that method back. But I am going to type public because we're going to need to access this method later with our start button. So we want to make sure that it says public or we won't be able to see it. Void. And I'm going to name this method start game. Add parentheses, opening and closing, and then add opening and closing squiggly brackets, and press Enter to move those brackets down. And I'm going to press Control S. Notice how there are no red squiggly lines anymore. That is perfectly acceptable for Visual Studio to compile. Compile basically means process the code and be able to read it. If there are errors in your code, then it will not be able to compile. Now, let's write a line of code that when this method is called, this method or function called start game, the words method and function are interchangeable in this case. We are going to make it so that this function changes the scene from the title scene to our main game scene. Let's start by typing scene manager. That is going to call the namespace of scene management. Put a period. Then type load scene. I'm going to click on this suggested load scene that you see there. Now, since it is a function, like I told you, all functions need to have a opening and closing parentheses after it. I'm going to put a semicolon just because I also know that all lines of code for C# need to end in a semicolon. Now, it is still showing a red squiggly line, and that is because this is waiting for me to type inside of the parentheses the name or the ID of the scene that we are trying to call to. I am going to make sure I know what my scene is called. It is main game. We want to get to the main game scene. And I'm going to type it exactly like it's typed in the actual scene itself. The scene name, the way it is spelled, needs to be the exact same as the way I spell it here. So capital M, main, space, capital G, game. Now, that one line is just going to make it so that when start game is called, the game loads up. Let's go back to Unity, but make sure that you press Control S, make sure that there is no little asterisk next to title screen script.cs up here where your name of the script is showing up. Make sure that you save, because if you do not save, nothing is going to change in your actual Unity project. Let's go ahead and press Control S and save in our actual project as well. Save the scene. Now I want you to open up your canvas, click Start button, and we are going to connect our function to this button. Here we see it says onClick. We are going to add an onClick event, and to do that you are going to press this plus button here that says Add to List when you hover over it. Press that. It is going to be looking for an object. It has none right here, but in parentheses it says object, which is what it's looking for. And that is the object that you have the script attached to. And for us, that is the main camera. So I'm going to click and drag in one motion and then release once we see this blue outline, this blue highlighted area. And now you can see I put the main camera game object there. Let's click the drop-down menu where it says No Function and select our script, the script that's attached to the main camera, title screen script. Go over here and select the Start Game function. Now, whenever we click this button, it should load our second scene and take us into our main game. Press Control S, and let's play by pressing this play button over here and test our scene. And there you have it. Let me show you again, but this time I'm going to press Maximize on Play, which is this little setting that you can toggle on and off in your game window. I'm going to click it, and that's going to do exactly what it says. It's going to maximize this game screen once we press play. To get a better view of your title screen, I'm going to have that selected. Press play. And that's how to create a title screen for your game. Thank you and have a great day.